This story happened to me about 4 years ago while I was working at a gas station overnight. My shift was from 11 at night to 7 in the morning. When I got to work, there was usually another clerk already there who had worked the evening shift, and they would stay until I got there. On this night, my coworker Judy had worked the shift before me. Judy was an older woman who followed all the rules and expected you to do the same. Her number one pet peeve was coworkers who came in late to cover the overnight shift because she couldn't leave until that person came in. If you came in even 1 minute late, she would have an attitude, so everyone knew to be on time. Usually when I got to work, she would practically be waiting by the door with her car running. Winters in Minnesota are brutal, so I didn't blame her for warming up her car ahead of time. Something was different about this night when I pulled up to the gas station and noticed that Judy's car was parked in the designated parking area for employees, but it wasn't running. As I parked my car, I noticed something else. I didn't see Judy anywhere by the door. There was a car parked across the street on the very busy main street, which was unusual. That car was running but no one was in it. I decided to go inside and check out the situation. I walked to the back and before I could call for Judy, a man appeared out of nowhere. He waved his weapon at me and demanded that I hand him my handbag. I didn't hesitate. I followed his instructions and did so quickly. I watched him as he emptied my handbag, but when nothing valuable emerged from my bag, he got angrier and angrier. He then demanded for me to empty my pockets, which only contained lip gloss and a few dollars in loose change. He got even more angry. He walked me to the back office where Judy was, and he locked me into the room with her. He told us that if we moved, he would hurt us and then he walked out. I looked at Judy, who looked terrified. I looked at her face, which looked like she had been struck with a hard object. She had bruising on one side of her face, and her hair was messy. We just hugged each other and cried until we finally felt safe to leave the back office. When we left the office, we ran over to the phone to dial 911 and were shocked when we saw flashing lights outside. We hadn't called the cops, and we weren't sure how they knew we were in trouble, but we were glad they were there. We ran outside and saw that the man who had robbed us was standing outside with his hands up. We remained inside but yelled to the police for help, and when the man heard us yelling for help, he turned around and looked back at us. He ran back inside the store before we even had a chance to lock the door. He grabbed me and put me in front of him as a shield. He locked the door and just like that, within a few seconds, we became his hostages. Immediately, we wished we had just locked the door and remained inside instead of alerting the robber. About 5 minutes into taking us hostage, the phone rang, and it was a police officer demanding that the crazy man release us, but he refused. Instead, he demanded that the police leave, otherwise, he would harm one of us every hour. I couldn't believe the nightmare I had walked into, and I was scared that things may not end well for me or Judy. I looked at the clock, and it was 2 minutes after midnight. It was hard to imagine this ordeal had been going on for an hour. After about a half hour after making the threat, the kidnapper began getting angry and throwing things around the store. I noticed that there was a red dot on his chest, and before I could figure out what it was, I heard a loud sound before the man fell to the ground. There was blood everywhere. Judy and I hugged again and cried in horror. Neither of us could bear to look at the horrific scene before us. The officers instructed us to open the door, and when we did, they came inside and rescued us. Judy and I were never the same after that night. Neither of us felt safe working the night shift again, and we decided to leave the job at the gas station because it was just too unsafe. I will never forget the night that could have ended in tragedy for me, and I am proud of how brave I was in that situation.